else has social media feed full of posts about No-vember. As we wrap up the month of November, we are taking this trend right into December. Is anyone else ready for No-Cember? Today we get honest about when to say yes and when to just say no.
You're listening to Honest Women, the podcast for every woman who's trying to juggle the relationships, roles, and responsibilities that come with modern womanhood and finding it all just a little harder than she thought it would be. We're your hosts, Andrea Berkeley
and Jessica Hutchison, your new besties who just happen to be therapists. And while we believe that life is hard and there's no tip or trick that will solve that, it does get just a little bit easier when we can be real with each other and talk about it honestly.
You're listening to Honest Women.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Jessica. It's never gonna not be funny.
I was saying it actually as I was getting ready this morning. Andrea.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be memorable if nothing else.
How are you today?
I'm doing A-okay. A-okay at this moment.
You know what? That's good.
Yeah, I feel like that happens when we do our podcast. We're podcasting.
We are podcasting. I'm feeling really good today, too.
What do you think that's from? We're both like more chill than we usually are.
I have been incorporating meditation into my morning routine.
Look at you.
I know. So I get up, I have my cup of coffee, and then before I do a morning workout, I have been meditating.
That's amazing.
This was like the first week that I've had 5-day streak.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I mean, this isn't the first time I've done this and then quit doing it and then come back to it.
Yep.
It works.
I love that. I'm trying to do like calming down things in the afternoon or end of the day. Ideal would be like 3 o'clock when I'm transitioning from seeing clients to going home, and that never happens.
No.
But I did do something to calm down last night, like a little kind of mindfulness sort of, not yoga, but it was essentially yoga. I bought something from Instagram is what I'm trying to say. I got an Instagram ad. I am the sucker. But I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Good.
It said it was going to help release my stored up emotions and that it was going to help me get rid of my weight that I can't lose. So
you know
I was
what?
like, okay,
if
whatever,
it
man.
made you feel better and it worked, then girl, I am glad you got it.
It was worth it. Plus it was like 60% off because I bought it through the ad on Instagram.
Every part of my advertising background is like, yep, that's how you get them.
I know.
Right?
And
I'm a
it's
sucker
true.
for it every time. The more you spend, the more you save, folks. You heard it here.
That's what my husband gets so mad when
So
I'm like,
does
this was a deal. He's like, wow, how much did you save?
Oh, mine too.
So we are in a season where things start to ramp up and everything gets extra and excess.
Okay, T-minus 2 days until December. I actually got goosebumps as I said that. I don't know why, but I did.
Fear response.
It's like a total stress response, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so there has been this trend on social media. You actually sent it to me because as I feel like our listeners now know, we have very different feeds.
I know. I'm so curious what's
I know. We're going to switch phones one day and then we'll tell you all about it.
For sure.
It'll be fun.
So this was in my feed. I saw a lot of women. I tend to be in the therapist, mental health, new mom, parenting, marriage feed.
Okay.
And I saw a lot of posts about No-vember, saying no to everything as the goal of November, which I was kind of like, yes, queen, do that. You know?
As my daughter says, slay queen.
Yes, I thought this is the perfect time of year to learn how to say no and to say no as a default because there's just so much.
There's a lot. And as an extrovert, it is hard for me to say no during this time of year and to evaluate what I do and do not want to attend.
When I hear what is coming up on your calendar, first of all, I'm like, I am deeply unpopular compared to you. Yes, I am. I'm like, damn, really? Like, how do you even know that many people? And how are all of them having parties? All of them. And in different combinations. And I'm sure some of the same people are going to be at the same parties.
100%.
Yeah. But it's just like, wow, damn, that's a lot. But I can even in my own way feel that sense of like it's another thing, it's another thing, it's another thing, and we start to have conflicts on the calendar. And you
Oh,
go, "Oh
yes.
shit, how am I going to do this and that?"
There's overlapping things.
Mm.
This is one of the only times in the year that I have overlapping or you get multiple invites on the same day. So I have a funny story for you.
Mhm.
So this morning, I'm getting ready and I bought, because you know I have some parties to go to. So I bought a couple formal kind of cocktail dresses for
Ooh.
a ridiculously good price. Like
Okay.
ridiculously, okay? Also, it's kind of like you have to keep them because you can't return them ridiculously
Right.
good price, right?
Right.
Shout out to
Okay.
Lulu's.
I
Yep.
love Lulu's.
I love Lulu's.
Lulu's should sponsor this podcast.
I agree. The amount of Lulu's dresses in my
So
closet.
many.
Okay, so I got these two dresses, knowing that they may or may not fit, but that was the last size.
Mhm.
So I put on one dress, and I kid you not, I was stuck in it for like 5 minutes.
What?
couldn't-
No.
I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to get out of this dress. Like I'm hopping around in my bathroom,
No, I've
trying to
been
get my arm
there.
out. Like it was.
You're like contorting a
Oh,
little bit.
totally. I'm like, do I
Oh,
rip it? And then I'm still questioning if I can wear
also, yes.
it.
Also, you are a tiny human. This must have been a child-sized dress that you were.
No,
You are a tiny human. So I'm actually like,
I
I
was
kind
so
of love
stuck.
the fact that this experience, this traumatic experience can reach all of the women because I know the worst is when you're like in a dressing room and you're like, what do I
How do
do?
we get out?
I live in this now. Especially if you don't want it, that you're trying to
I'm
like
like, I'm gonna have
dislocate your
to rip
shoulder
off
to get out.
this dress to get out. So my husband's on a call downstairs. I don't even know what he could hear. I mean, it was like, fuck, shit. Like there's
Thump, thump,
sequins
thump. I'm
flying
sure.
everywhere in the bathroom. I mean, it was a thing. But the best part was it's like sitting on my floor in my closet. And I'm like, so can I wear that?
You're totally gonna wear that. As long as you can like pee easily, like you should still wear it. Was it cute?
It's really cute, but it's sequins. So sequins don't stretch
They
as
do not
much.
give.
They
No
don't
give.
give. That's the problem. And I like some give. So I
Right.
don't know. To be determined, my
Okay.
friends, if
I
this
want a
dress gets
fashion
worn,
show.
and
I
I
want a
will
fashion
for
show.
sure send a picture of the dress that I will likely be like stuck in, should I choose to wear it.
I want to see you in this dress, like driving to pick up, sleeping, working out because you cannot get out of it. Like
And
you
it's
just
like
wore it
gold
one
and
day.
black, like sparkled.
Yeah, back to Slay Queen. I
Yes, like
love this.
queen. I
Yeah.
know. I really need to put it on for my daughter because she will be like, "Do not wear that, mom," or she'll be like, "Slay queen."
Yeah.
He'll be
You
one of
never
the two.
know.
Okay, so getting back to this whole idea of when to say yes and when to say no, I will say I was sitting with a group of friends. We were talking about when to say yes and when to say no, and it went on even further to say, okay, well, what if somebody has already said yes, then gets another invite, and then
Mm.
either cancels on you or says, well, we're also going to do this after committing to your party. So we're sitting there talking, and I loved it because they literally were like, can you please talk about this on your podcast?
Yes.
Yes, I can. And it's really good timing as we're going in to No-Cember, right? You heard
Yes.
it here.
We're stretching it out.
No-Cember. We're stretching it out.
We were late on the trend, but
We're
now
late.
we make our own trend.
I'm often late. So, this comes as no surprise.
Mhm.
So here's where I want to start is what are some of the barriers that we go through? And what I like about this is I naturally am pretty extroverted. You're naturally pretty introverted.
Mhm.
So our barriers are different
Totally.
when it comes to receiving an invite. So what are some of the reasons that you hesitate to say no?
Okay. First, I struggle to say yes. Okay. Oh, actually, that's a lie. First, I go, yes. I get so excited. I love being invited. I have a vision that I'm going to want to go to this thing. I'm just like, introverts are just like anybody else. We want to go to parties. We want to be
Fun
invited.
at parties.
You know, yeah, it's fun. So it's like, oh my gosh, something fun. Then as we get closer to the day, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not wanting to do this pretty much 90% of the time. And then I've already backed myself in a corner. So
Mm.
I am that person, not who gets two invites. I mean, maybe that happens, but where I'm like, how do I not go to this?
You're a backer outer.
I'm not. So then I
Oh,
I'm hard on myself. I'm like, you gotta go, Andrea, you gotta go. And then usually, I have to pat myself up. I'm like, you always are happy you went. But I'm also like a little anxious. I'm also like a lot tired. And I try not to back out of plans because I feel guilty. So
yes.
that's a lot of times I start with a yes. I then dread for like however many days are between my yes and then that event. And then a lot of times I go, even if I realize that I've screwed myself, even if I realize that I'm too tired or some stuff has come up or whatever, because I feel guilty backing out. I don't want to be a backer outer. I don't like when other people do that to me.
Okay, why? I just want to stay there for 1 minute because it's important. Why do you feel guilty if you
Yeah.
back out?
So, like I said, I don't like when other people do that to me. And sometimes, if you kind of get one person back out and then like five people back out,
Oh,
and
that's
then
just
something,
mean.
well, yeah,
You
but
know
I
what I
also
mean? Well,
get
if it's
it
the same group.
totally. Right. So, like, let's say that we were planning on doing something that's just small. And if one person's like, oh, it's been a really long week, and then everyone else is like, yeah, me too. Because that's true. It always has been. It's always been a really long week. But if I kind of pumped up to, we're going to do this, or especially
Yes.
if you've put some gone shopping and you've set a menu or even just ordered some food or you cleaned your house and then people are like, no, I'm not going to come or whatever. I don't know. I think it can kind of like hurt your feelings.
I agree.
Also be annoying,
I
you know?
agree.
Also be a relief just to be fair. Cuz then like again, even if I set the plans and they're at my place, a lot of times I'm like, man, whew. And so if someone cancels, there's a part of me that's relieved and a part of me that's rejected. It's a great time, is what I'm trying to say.
But you can hold both feelings in the same moment, right?
I mean, not gracefully.
No,
I'm like,
no, there's nothing graceful about
no, I
it.
just ping and pong back and forth. I'm like, oh, thank God they canceled, and then I'm like, I can't believe they canceled.
Rejection, rejection,
Right,
rejection, abandonment, 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 all the
totally.
things.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is common for both of us
Mhm.
is not wanting to upset somebody or hurt
Yeah.
somebody's feelings, which
Mhm.
then can lead to saying yes when you otherwise truly want to say no.
Oh, you know what else?
Ooh, what?
Okay. So I'm afraid of not being asked in the future.
That's a common one. I've heard that a lot.
Hmm.
And especially if you've already said no before. And a lot of times it's for a different reason. I was sick. I really couldn't go. Well, now if I say no, I'm off the list.
Right. No one wants to be off the list.
Yeah, they're throwing you out. You're off the bus.
I want to be on the list always. I don't want to go, but I know that that's an issue. You'll eventually be off the list,
It's
you know?
true. And then be upset that you're off the list, even
Yeah,
though
of course
you
I'd be
never
upset
went to
about
the
that.
event. Okay, so another barrier I feel or have seen is I want to attend something and my partner doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little bit different in that where I'm pretty extroverted and my husband's more introverted. He'll
Yeah,
go, he can hang. Every introvert can go and hang and be a super fun, great time.
right.
And that I see play out a lot during this time of year
Yeah.
that can cause a lot of marital distress
Mm-hmm.
for everybody where it's, well, I really want to go and you need to come with me, but
Right.
I don't want to go. Why do I have to come with you? Which I think brings up a whole broader thing.
Well, especially if your levels of tolerance are really different. So when you, as an extrovert who wants to say yes to almost everything, are overloaded, your more introverted partner who's like, look, every time we go to an event, my life source is drained a little bit, may really have been like way past his point. at
Mm.
then.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, then you're like, "Oh, so, like, how do we manage this?" Like, you don't do things you don't wanna do because you don't do things that I wanna do because you don't wanna do them? Like, is that how we work now?
It's a big one. Are there things that we can, as a couple, give each other a pass and
Right,
say, listen, I know this isn't your thing. There's
right.
certain things that you can't,
Mhm.
but there are some things where it's why do we have to drag somebody else along or be dragged along when
Right.
we don't want to be there?
Yeah, and again, the number of events that could meet that description are really high during November, December, because every group of people is trying to get together. And that means some groups of people you don't want to be a part of,
Oh,
probably.
yes.
You know?
Oh, yes.
It's like,
Every
hey, we
single
don't
year.
see you most of the rest of the year for a reason. And
There's a reason
now
we
we have
don't.
a holiday party. So there's that.
I don't want to. Right. I think disclaimer here there are things that we have to do or should do
Right.
in a partnership.
Right.
Work events,
Mhm.
whether you want to be there or not, you probably should accompany your partner. Things like that. Guess what, everybody? You need to go to family dinner like for
Right.
the holiday. Right.
It's
Another
a
thing that
bad look if you
it's
don't
a
show up
bad look
for,
if you don't.
right.
So I want to throw that out. I'm not talking about our Thanksgiving dinners, any other holiday events that we have. I'm talking about the social stuff.
So you brought up family dinner. I think that this is the zone where, like, in family things, extended family things, the stuff that comes up every year, maybe some big personalities and histories are involved. Sometimes we're not worried about somebody like feeling bad. We're worried about friggin' backlash.
Ooh, speak more to that.
Well,
Backlash.
it's like, I can't say no to X, Y, or Z
Mm.
because my mother-in-law, father-in-law, Uncle Bob, Aunt Sue, like Aunt Sue will throw a fit.
Mm.
She's, well,
Yes.
Aunt Sue's a bee. But everyone feels entitled to claim a time during the holiday season. And sometimes saying no can lead to some shit.
This is true.
So I think we struggle to say no to those things. And then you're like, well, I have to go to all this stuff I don't want to go to. So I want to say yes to everything that sounds fun. And then you end up really overdone.
It stretches you, right? Okay, so I want to speak to the whole multiple invitations on the same day.
Okay.
Because this one's a hard one. My daughter actually educated me on social etiquette,
Ooh,
which clearly at 40 I should know, but don't.
I don't.
I think she took a class. I don't know. I was out of town. But essentially, from a social etiquette standpoint, you should respond to the invite that you received first. And
Mm.
if you already committed to an event on the same day, from an etiquette standpoint, I'm not saying it's the right thing for everybody, but from an etiquette standpoint, you should go to that party and not back out because you got a better invite. Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
what if it's really a lot better though?
I know.
Or what if you have extended family or just whatever that they claim like every friggin' minute of December?
Well,
What are you supposed
that
to
I
do
feel like
except
is
to sit in
different
the
because you're not getting an evite. Like, isn't that more
Mm.
tradition?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes you get summoned. You're getting
Summoned.
summoned to the house.
I don't want to be summoned anywhere.
Well, plenty of people feel like they're getting summoned. That is like, you shall arrive when I say you arrive, I
That
don't know. Well,
makes
this is
everything in my
hard.
body reject whatever
Uh-huh.
event that is if I was summoned.
I know. And yet, many people find themselves in that, you can't say no type situation. So, this is hard because at a time where there's going to be a lot of conflict between events, it's like, really? Am I bound to the Evite that was sent out 3 or 4 or 6 weeks ahead of time?
Not
Because,
unless you said yes.
well, then you shouldn't say yes to anything.
I agree.
You
So
should
if
be that
you
person.
I agreed. Well, I don't agree.
See, I
I know.
know it's hard.
This is also why you always need to include an RSVP by date.
Yeah.
And don't be the
Yeah.
jerk who does an RSVP because it really is rude. Even though I've been that person, but I always apologize. I am so sorry that I
Yeah.
didn't because it is just rude.
Okay, to the people who are out there like me who perpetually does not RSVP, some of us just have a really overloaded email box. And like when I do not RSVP, it's not because I'm waiting for a better deal. Like I missed your email. That's why.
So what you're saying is you
What I'm
do get
saying
invited
is,
to a lot of parties.
no, I don't. I get a bunch of dumb emails about kids' activities and I just get swamped with
Yeah,
that stuff.
kids things are hard, right? Like that one is a hard one when it's kids versus yours.
Right.
Those
Right.
type of events. I have had multiple birthday party invite on the
Mm-hmm.
same day, and
That's so
that
painful.
one's a hard one. And usually, if it is one of my children's absolute best friends or somebody, they hang out with a
Mm-hmm.
lot, we already know about it. It's on the calendar beforehand. So it
Right.
hasn't been a conflict.
Yeah.
But we have gone with, you already committed to this birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And we already accepted that invite.
Right.
We're not going to do the two. And
Man.
I know. And we reframe it though from a standpoint of, okay, if it was your birthday party and this friend of yours already said, yes, they're coming, and then came back and said, well, actually, I have to leave early to go to another birthday party,
Right.
how would you feel?
Well, that's why you don't say, actually, I have to leave early to go to another birthday party.
I can't tell my 10-year-old to lie.
Well, I don't say you lie. I just say you omit. Nobody needs all that information about you.
This is
I mean,
true.
some of these things are very long. Do you need to go to like a 7-hour family commitment? Can you not go to part? Is this what we're saying?
No.
Oh,
Also, I don't think I've ever been invited to a 7-hour party. So I will put that caveat. A lot of parties that I have, there's a start time, but not an end time,
yeah.
which then allows for a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
movement, right? You can show
Mm-hmm.
up late, you can leave early.
Mm-hmm.
I am, I'm not proud of this, but I am really good at being a Houdini and just bouncing out of somewhere
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
answer the questions. Again,
Yeah.
total avoidance. It's not black and white here,
Right. Right.
but it is. I think there's some events where you really have to say, did I already commit to it? And how is this person going to feel if I leave to go elsewhere? And
Right.
again, if it's an acquaintance, one thing. When it's a really good friend,
Yeah.
it's
Well, and if
different.
it's a big open party, I think that's a lot different than a sit down dinner. You know,
Oh, agree.
if you've committed to a 10-person sit down dinner and you get an invitation to something else, like you probably just need to say no. And to be fair, we can sit in the discomfort of being disappointed.
Yes, we can.
Sometimes we go, oh man, I can't believe I missed that because I already committed to something else. We can live with that. And sometimes we can let ourselves off the hook because what we think is, I have to say yes to both of these people, both of these events for any of the reasons we mentioned above. I sometimes like, man, wouldn't it be a relief to just be like, you can only do one thing today?
Yes. Actually, it can be very freeing if you already have, though, committed to something and
Mm-hmm.
you get another invite. It does give you the opportunity to say, I'm so sorry. I've already committed to something that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does sound kind of like a relief.
Right?
Yeah. I do, though, want to just ask.
Uh-oh.
So, for some people, showing up, is it not better in some circumstances? Like, let's just say that there are people in your circle, right? But they're not your inner circle. They're like your acquaintance circle. They're like your community circle. I don't know. You're not my favorite, but well, is it just me? Okay, you're not my favorite. We're not
Yes.
close,
Have
but we're part
those.
of the
Yep.
same community.
Mhm.
So, I want to show up at your thing to say, hey, thanks for the invite. Our kids go to school together, or we live in the same place, or we go to the same club, or whatever. You want to show up and show your face and say, hey, we have this level of connection that's, a few rings removed. And I just want to show up for a little minute and say, like, hey, thanks so much. Give a hug and a squeeze. And this is so nice. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, little Johnny did such a good job at the Christmas play. And then you sneak out the back door. Is that not allowed? And then you go to somewhere else that you want to go?
I think in that instance, it's totally allowed. Funny, as you're talking about it, that would be an event I would be more apt to say no to.
There are events that my heart says no, but my sense of social,
Mhm.
things says yes. There are plenty of things that we say, I don't really want to do this, but we should go. And I don't
Mhm.
think that that's totally wrong.
No.
Both my husband and I are introverted. Both of us, we're worn out. And our default would be to say no to everything. So we go, our values are we want to be part of a community. We want to be connected to people. We do want to have fun. We want to have relationships. We want that to benefit our kids. So my values say, you've got to say yes to some things that you might otherwise say no to.
I agree with you on that. I also think in that example, you're not going to upset anybody because
Right.
there's different expectations.
So there's an interesting thing in what you just said. Two things that I want to point out. One is we can consider how someone else will feel, but maybe your Aunt Sue makes a big fucking deal about everything and you're like, well, Aunt Sue's going to be mad. Well, she's going to be mad. Okay.
Exactly.
And we don't have to make all of our decisions based on someone else's reactivity, based on someone else's sensitivity, based on someone else's like wild expectation.
It's okay to think about, that's empathy, how somebody else might feel. However, it's not your responsibility to take away that person's feelings of disappointment. And I just want to pause on disappointment for a minute because the amount of people that I hear on a daily basis say, I don't want to disappoint somebody. First off, and somebody being disappointed that you're not there is actually a good thing. It means they like you. If they're not disappointed that you're not going to be there,
Right.
they don't like you very much.
Right.
The opposite would be true. They're happy you said no. Also, I don't want you to feel disappointed. Well, that's my right. I have a right to feel disappointed, and don't you take that away from me.
Yeah, we cannot manage other people's feelings all the time. The second thing is you're probably not that important.
That is so true.
I'm not trying to be mean to your soul. I'm just saying that in the vast majority of situations, especially around the holidays, where it's like all the ladies from the second grade are getting together, or hey, our high school besties are getting together. I don't have high school besties, by the way. Someone will probably be like, oh man, when you say you're not going to go, but like I don't know that the sun rises and sets on us the way that we think it does. I don't think we destroy people if my inability, because a lot of times it's just inability to be in two places at once destroys you. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I just think most of the time, we agonize over what do I do? I've got this conflict, and the truth is, like, if someone notices, if they think about the fact that you're not there, they'll be like, oh man, and then they just move on. I think our lives are better when we realize we're like just not that important to everybody else.
Here's the best line that I've ever heard is you're not the main character in other people's stories.
Oh, it's so true.
You're not the main character. And how often are we making ourselves the main character in their story?
We're just not. And
No.
I think we can relieve a lot of stress by reminding ourselves of that. So you got 2 invitations on the same day. Okay, navigate that, and the world's not going to end. It's going to be
Yes.
okay. You can choose based on like the degree of closeness that you have. You can choose based on the relationship. Yes, you might choose with a little bit of management in mind.
The lesser of two evils. Is the fallout going to be worse than actually attending, or is attending going to be worse than the fallout?
Right.
Evaluate.
Or does there need to be a boundary set here? And we say, unfortunately, every time you summon us to our house, we are not available. That's what I like to remind people. It's an invitation, not a summons.
Okay, so how can we say no? I think we have differing views on this. I am all for honesty. However, not with anybody and everybody. So if we're talking about this, community-based event where there's a lot of people, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying when it's your friends, like your close friends, when it's close family members, when it's people that you can trust. I am all for being honest. And I just did this not too long ago where I was supposed to attend something after a very long day of sessions in my office and sent a message to everybody. It was a small group event and said, I'm sorry, I can't because I have nothing left to give today. I can't listen and I can't talk and I need to just go home, be with my family and go to bed as soon as they do. And what was really awesome about it is every single person was unbelievably supportive.
Oh, I love that.
Like there was a little cheerleading in it where it was like, I am so happy you chose you tonight. And I can't help but think about how different the response would have been if I just said, sorry, guys, I thought I was going to be able to, but I can't.
Well, that makes so much sense. And you're modeling, checking in with yourself. You're giving other people permission to check in with themselves. I think that's beautiful. It's based on the situation.
Yes.
I like to look back at, like, it really depends on, again, the relationship and the patterns. I say less is more. I just want to remind everyone that, like, I don't like justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining. And I think explaining is the one that I'm more apt to bend on. You offer a loving insight into your own life because of the safety and the closeness of the relationship. That's beautiful. There's nothing better than saying, oh, I wish I could come. I love you so much. I was wishing I was spending this time with you. Unfortunately, I can't. But my favorite thing is, unfortunately, we won't be able to attend. Thank you for the invite. That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to say, oh, unfortunately, we've got a conflict that night, or unfortunately, we've got another event. I think the problem with giving too much explanation is that sometimes you feel like you have to have a really good reason to say no, and you don't. You don't. You could just be tired.
Why not say, unfortunately, I can't attend. It has been such a long week. I'm just exhausted.
Like, I would say that to somebody that I was texting with or calling. I would not write that on an Evite.
Oh gosh,
I just
no,
don't
that'd
think
be
that everyone
weird.
is. Yeah, I just don't think that everyone's privy to my
Well,
information.
Evites I think are different too. You could easily just check yes or no.
Right.
Or be the maybe person, which I got to be honest, I really dislike the maybes, even though I've been one before. But I will usually just say no and then sidebar, hey, I hope I can, but here's what's going on that day. Maybe's hard if you're trying to head count people.
It is. I also think that sometimes a very brief no is important when you're setting a boundary with someone who's going to argue with you, someone who pushes past your no, someone who challenges your autonomy. They will declare when an event is, and then you must show up, and there is no option with that person. I think it's really good to say, ooh, thanks for the invite. Unfortunately, we can't attend. And then just zip your lips. Don't say anything else because it's not a debate. And that's asserting, I get to choose. Would that be weird with your best friend? Yeah, don't do that with your best friend. Come on. We all know this, right?
That would be
but
weird.
with someone who's pushing your boundaries.
To all the women listening who have or have not seen the recent No-Vember trend, we encourage you to take this whole no right into December. And we hope today's honest conversation gives you permission to do what feels best for you this next month. Thank you for listening to another Honest Women episode. Want to make this conversation a part of your daily life? And let's be honest, who doesn't? Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a woman who could use a little more honest conversation in her life, please share this podcast with a friend. And you may have noticed this new episode just dropped on a Tuesday. So join us moving forward every Tuesday for a little bit more honest conversation. If you have any ideas for show topics, please send us an email at hello@honestwomenpodcast.com. Until next time, hang in there, ladies.